Hey everybody, I finally got the camera at the right length to show its clarity. But anyway, I managed to repaint this SH Monster Arts Kong 2021, I believe. Yeah. Now I know what I said about my SH Monster Arts. Frankly, I don't like them for the most part because I find a lot of the stuff I bought previously breaks easy. Um, But honestly, I mean, I was mostly just with the Monster Hunter stuff, and I was pissed. I found this guy at Target. Yeah, I know, right? Who the hell would have thought that Target sells SH Monster Art stuff? I was like, damn. I was like, that's crazy, the fact that they do that. And I saw the Godzilla there, and I said, well, I'm not interested in that. But the Kong, I was like, hell yeah, I want to get that dude. And I figured I'd repaint him because, frankly, he looked good beforehand, but I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I'm not the biggest fan of the 2021 Kong, just because I don't know, he kind of like he's a little soft, in my opinion, compared to a lot of the previous King Kongs, especially the Peter Jackson's King Kong. Now that I don't think there's gonna be a more badass version of the character than that version. I mean, that version just he whooped ass all over the place. But anyway, yeah, I mean, I was just kind of like, well, if I had to design the character, what would I want him to look like? And here I go. Here's what I came up with. So what I actually did was I didn't do a whole lot. Like I glossed up the scar on his chest and stomach there because I figured that'd make it look like it stands out a lot more, make it look a lot better. And then most of the work I did was on the face. Like I kept the one eye normal because I honestly like how the eyes look. And I scarred up the other eye. So essentially what this guy looks like is he's what I wanted him to look like was he got clawed in the face by something at one point and it caught him in the eye and he has a dead eye now. He's blind in the one eye. Because you guys could see I did a little bit of a cut in the sculpt, or at least attempt to. Yeah, or I tried to. And then I painted the eyeball to make it look dead. I glossed it up nicely to make it still look wet, like it's an eye. Um, and so I did that, and then I colored the top of his head. I made it sort of like an orangey red type color. Made it fade to an extent on either side. It's a little bit more faded on this side, which frankly I'm okay with. It is kind of uneven with real life apes anyway, which is what I took a lot of this inspiration from. I made his beard a little bit wider to signify he's older, because this version I have is I wanted him to be a little older, because a lot of the time you see King Kong, he actually is old. Like I know in the Peter Jackson's version he was like 150. So I'm assuming his species in that version lives for a long time. And because of the way he was moving around, I mean, at that age, 150, and you're still moving around like that, yeah, you got quite a bit of life left to live. And, I know the MonsterVerse version is like 200, but whatever, you know. I don't know. I mean, I feel like they could have did the MonsterVerse version of Kong a lot better. Like, for one, they could have gave him better opponents on Skull Island. Skull crawlers were cool and all, but they're smaller than he was. And that was what was cool, like in the 1933 and 2005 version of King Kong. He was fighting things that were bigger than him. And that's what was cool about King Kong, was just a skill. He was a very experienced fighter. Even for his species. Like, he had the strength of all of his species, or he had the average strength of his species, but then he had extra skill that most others of his kind didn't have. And that's what made him cool. But yeah, I modeled the Kong more off of that, just because I figured, hey, make him older, make him more experienced, a lot more damaged, with the eye there. And then I painted his back up quite a bit. I gave him sort of a silverback thing going on. Kind of it going down his legs, getting grayer and more faded throughout his legs. Kind of carrying it up from the butt to the back, to the upper back, and then having it kind of stop around the back of the head. The red on the top of his head was was inspired by a lot of the gorillas, sort of same with the silverback. Um, I mean, you see this for a lot of them, the males have it, I guess, to kind of show off to the females, because apes are very colorful primates. Or, well, what I meant to say was primates in general are pretty colorful compared to most other mammals, because unlike most mammals, primates could actually see in color, which I think is rather fascinating. And of course, we're one of the examples. Um, so yeah, it's a little faded on this side, it's a little faded on that side. Comes up nice and bright on the top of the head there. And it kind of fades unevenly because I rather wanted it to be like that, because you see that often on primates. And see, we got the other head here. I really did attempt to get it as close as possible. Faded on that side, faded on that side. The head. I tried to get it as close as possible because they're supposed to be the same. Hold on. Come on, camera don't. There we go. I tried to get it as close as possible with the camera. Sorry, with the paint job, because they're supposed to be the same face, just different expressions. And then sorry, that's the back there. I did the same with the bottom hairs there. And I actually did this all last night because I was bored and I was waiting for the chupacabra to dry. But yeah, I'd have to say I think they pair up nicely. Of course, like they're a little different with the eye, because that eye I had to do quite a few different times to get it to look right. And then with the scarring too on the eye, it's a little different. But I don't mind because the companies can't get it exactly right either. So hey, still faded on the same side. It's a little brighter on the side, just like how it is with this face. I attempted to get it as close as possible. And honestly, guys, let me know what you think, because I rather like how this guy turned out overall. Again, I give you guys a little look around. Pretty much nothing changed for the front here except for some shaggy whiteness on the shoulders there. Scar was glazed up a little bit. In fact, let me pop off this head, put on this head for a second just to show you guys. Oh yeah, that's nice looking. Oh, sorry. Yeah, that's a nice looking head. Honestly, I think this dude came out really nice. But yeah, it's pretty much just my repaint. I just figured I'd show you guys, I love King Kong as a character, and along with Godzilla, I love both of them, but I don't know, just something about King Kong, just a giant ape that fights dinosaurs and is one of the last of his kind, and the fact how just the story is epic to me. And honestly, it's a shame people don't show the character more respect, considering he actually was one of the main inspirations for Godzilla. People always mention the Radosaurus, and yeah, sure, in the design-wise, I could see how the Radosaurus was an inspiration, but story-wise and character-wise, King Kong was a very heavy inspiration for Godzilla. For example, I watched both of the first movies, and let me know if this sounds familiar to you guys. In Gojira, the first Godzilla, they describe Godzilla as being a god of the island, a vengeful god, and they had to sacrifice people to him. Or that was the custom that used to exist, not no more in the franchise, or not in the movie, but they still practiced the ritual to an extent. Well, I'm just gonna sit him down then. There we go. But anyway, so pretty much, what was it? It was it was pretty much God just being like it was Godzilla just being pretty much like this creature that the natives revered and worshipped. Sounds a little familiar, don't you think? And honestly, it's not copying really. It's inspiration. It is technically copying, but it's different enough to where you're like, all right, well, that's fine. And honestly, like I said, I love both characters, but credit where credit's due. King Kong was a huge inspiration for Godzilla, and what was one of the reasons why he got so popular was because King Kong was his very second enemy that he ever fought. you know. So, yeah, I mean, I honestly think King Kong deserves a lot more respect as a character, but, you know, I mean, to each your own, I guess. I just wish people wouldn't dumb him down so much as, oh, he's just a giant monkey, because no, the character's a lot more than that, you know. He's a symbol of never giving up, like, even when he's down being shredded by machine guns, and all that, he still doesn't give up. He's still trying to fight, and he fights for what he believes in, He believed in protecting that woman, one of the few things that gave him happiness in a world that just wanted him dead, essentially, you know. That little moment of happiness, and he pretty much did everything in his power to protect her. Even in the 1933 version, I mean, he still, if you watch the film, he doesn't really do nothing to hurt her. And even though in that version where, it's a lot of 50s movies were like that, creature bad, humans always good, etc., etc., they still made it kind of sympathetic where, yeah, I mean, he doesn't really hurt her. Technically, he kidnaps her, but, he's an animal. It ain't really like they hold the same standards as people do. He still protected her against everything in the island. And, I think that's pretty admirable for a character, defending her and all that. But, people read the message wrong and all that, and, they all see it a different way. Though some people don't. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. Either way. Yeah, that was my, this was my repaint of the 2021 Kong. Pretty much my own version of the character, painting him up, give him a little bit of a different backstory. Just have him older looking, make him more gorilla-like in terms of, paint job-wise. And I figure, it'd be cool, because I saw, damn it, who's the guy I'm thinking of? He did this really incredible art of Kong that actually inspired me to do this. And Kong was holding a big sword made out of a creature's skull. It was like Guiron or something from Gamera. And he had like an Anguirus skull on his shoulder as armor. God, I'm trying to remember that guy's name. I can't, but it's on DeviantArt. He did this incredible looking Kong art. And an even more incredible looking second version where it's like Kong all electrified up with King Ghidorah skulls and spines as whips. Like he had the spine attached to the skull, and he was swinging it around like a whip, with it being electrified. And I thought, wow, that's the kind of King Kong we need to see in a kaiju movie nowadays. That shit would be great. But anyway, yeah, so that was pretty much just my King Kong repaint, or my 2021 Kong repaint. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you later.